Managing Director of Paragon Trust Company and tax and private client practitioner, joins us to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, I just got a confirmation from our pal Mike Finkelstein that it's a serious car accident. So that's what's going on down there. So we'll let you know. As I find out, I'll let you guys know immediately. Mike, thank you for that. I appreciate that update. So go a different way. Serious car accident right there on 117 southbound. Tony, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and proud to be among you, and proud to be among everyone here in the state of Connecticut today.
So you had to swim to get to the barn today, huh?
Well, you know, it might be this, like, rain on top of ice because there was, I was sort of doing a cha-cha-cha between the two buildings. So, yeah, it's instructive. Take it slow, people. That's for sure. And take it slow, Tony. All
right, take it slow, Tony. That's right, little baby steps. We don't want to lose you. You got too many people who have fallen in love with Tony D'Angelo. And
I love them, too. I've met some great people here along the way.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit. Last week, I talked a little bit about the powers that be and all that. You've talked about that as well. So I know you want to sort of piggyback that again.
I want to come to you today in gratitude that, 20 months ago when we started on this and you provided a forum for these findings to be heard. Now, this state owes you, Lee Elci, a debt of gratitude. I owe you a debt of gratitude because you provided this when nobody else did. And when I heard your opening Thursday about how this started here, and I think there's a tragedy, regardless of who's trying to do what and when, and, there's great contributions. There's other contributions that I just shake my head, and it's like you're two behind and you're three to the left that I read and I hear about. No one really, the most discouraging thing to me, I had never really intended for me to be in the position I am now. I'm proud to be here. I love it. I'm happy to serve. But when it came down to our established political system and our quote-unquote, established media, nobody picked up on it. We were, when me and you and several others, I took a lot of it. I really didn't care, like conspiracies and tinfoil hat people and, all this other kind of stuff. And it's the kind of thing that when I come here, I'm not telling tall tales. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to bring anything that, I can't prove. And, so it's like, who's laughing now? And it's, we're only hitting really the tip of the iceberg of this thing. And I think it's a shame, and I'll just say this, because if people who were in these roles, be you established government or established media, did what you needed to do 20 months ago when this was happening, we would have been a lot farther along in this thing. And that's my rant today.
Yeah.
It's like, do your jobs, people, because otherwise, it's the welfare of the state that's at stake. And sometimes I just don't think you really don't care. Your ball, my friend.
Tony, I think you're right on the money with all of that. This is one of the things that I sort of put as a plank in a platform for doing the show is that there are people out there who are self-serving, and then there are people out there who actually want good for either the state, their community, the country. You fall into that second category. You don't get paid for coming on. You don't make any money for coming on. You never ask for anything for coming on. You do it because you think it's the right thing to do. Now, there are folks who get into politics, I think, with the greatest of intentions, the altruistic intentions, and then somehow along the way, as I've said a million times, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. No question about that. So that being said, what you have done here, you have been the spark that has uncovered all this stuff. Now, I don't know if it was by accident. I don't know if you stumbled upon it, all those many months ago and then began to beat this drum here on the radio. But the reason why I got on the air last week and was angry because your name was left out of a conversation when it should have been put in there is because that you don't look for that glory. You don't look for the 15 minutes of fame. And that is the reason why I want to make sure you do get recognition on some of these things, even though you don't want it, nor do you care about it. But it's also that the other people who were talking about the events that you uncovered were doing it to pat themselves on the back when they had nothing to do with it in the beginning, right? So that's where I was angry. Like, you don't have a right to steal somebody else's information and hard work and then put it on yourself as you did something fantastic when you didn't. Does that make any sense?
Well, it does. And the thing is, it's like, I believe that the intelligent, discerning person or the person of an open mind will be able to separate truth from fiction and what's real and what isn't. I appreciate it. But in the end, in all of this, it's starting now. Let the truth will out.
Right.
And I appreciate that. And I thank you.
And
one of the things I did want to mention is I loved your monologue this morning about waste. And the thing is, public waste just galls me. I mean, I want to rip my guts out because I drove to school. I drove to State Junior College in a 61 Chevy with holes in the floor, no radio, no heater, no nothing, shivering, driving with a blanket because I saw a future. And the thing is that's another, whatever you want to call it, that's another segment for another time. Have a vision. Your present isn't your future. But, and these clowns blow money with no public accountability. And, somebody's there trying to spend $10 for a gallon of milk. And I'm sorry, I find that wrong. But, as you know, to get into some subject matter for these good people, I've been following this thing with the PPE situation at Jack Rubenstein, LLC, Connecticut. A little bit of background. We have new kids today. Jack Rubenstein's received $17.5 million from Connecticut since the onset of the pandemic. Now, most recently, they were newsworthy because of the COVID test scandal at the end of 2021. We'll get to that in a little bit. What's very interesting is that of all the purchases prior to the COVID tests, they were listed as going to the Department of Correction, which is very, very odd to me because I do not see a connection between the Department of Correction and the Department of Administrative Services, Josh Cabali, who really is the functional purchasing person here. We'll get to that in a moment, too. And there's what's really kind of odd is there are a lot of stories like in the beginning about prisoners not having enough PPE. So what the heck is going on here? You think they'd hand some out to the prisoners, but when you scan the check records, we'll see that only the last two purchases from Rubenstein are not from the Department of Corrections. It's very interesting. They're for the Department of Health. Now, is this due to the grand jury investigation? We're going to get into that, too. So let's look at the sequence of events, because when you're tracking something, you need a timeline. This is how I work, or in this case, I'm going to call it a slime line. On January 7th, I had made a Freedom of Information request to his nibs, Josh Cabali, I know that's how I pronounce it, about everything going back to January 2020, Mother Mary, all the ships at sea, give me all the records and everything for Jack Rubenstein, CT, LLC. Then on January 11th, the Department of Public Health, that's functional, acknowledges, not the Department of Administrative Services. A week after that, this was very interesting to me. I received a very nice call from a lady in the Department of Corrections. I'm going to call her Susan. It's not her real name. And it was a very pleasant call. And she said, I got this request here from the Department of Administrative Services, but what's it doing here? We don't have anything really to do with this now. One thing that I'm very good at, and it's probably my personality, is I play the blithering idiot better than anybody I know, probably because I am. I'm like, yeah, okay. Sounds interesting. Now, you sure? Yeah. Well, yeah. I said, well, I really don't know what to tell you. So we exchanged a couple of pleasantries and hung up. And then I heard from the DPH on the most recent purchase of the COVID test last Friday, and they gave me everything on that. And I asked, well, where's the other stuff? Dead air. Now, when you look at the, functional to the work that George Colley did great work on this, and, I've done some, but they claimed, the Department of Public Health claimed this is all their records, everything they've got, everything that ever took place. One thing's for certain, There is nothing, butkus, absolutely nothing, to use my father's term, ugats, concerning 2021. Nothing happened. Gabali, Lamont, and the Commissioner of Health, Ripwani, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, they lied through their teeth. It is proven these people have violated the public trust, and you wonder why I lose my mind with this, crap. Your ball.
So, a lot of these gals are jumping ship now. Do you expect more of this to happen? I mean, Gabelli's gone, and, he's going to leave that trail of tears behind him. Who knows what we're going to find out? I mean, do you expect more of these, I don't want to say rats to leave a sinking ship? I feel like last week was a disaster for Lamont.
Oh, yeah. It's not going to get any better. And then you wonder, and the answer is I do, and, at some point somebody's going to start saying something about something. And the sad thing is, this really is the only hope. I shouldn't say the only hope, but it's one of the few hopes we have. Because had people done their jobs 20 months ago,
right,
these established things, we wouldn't be grasping at straws right now.
So are you angry with the politicians, the
you better believe it.
Okay, so
you better believe it.
You're not naming names,
but where were you when the lights went out?
Yeah, because there could have been people talking about this a year ago, right? Yeah.
Well, that's just it. And if I can do it, and the reason I'm doing it is because I see a wrong here. I see something hurting the state. I see something hurting those I care about. And, it's like, and you don't, and you're getting paid, and you're going to tell me you're this wonderful person. I'm not saying everyone. I've met some fine legislators, good people, good hearts,
right.
But it's like, this is your function, people.
Right. Tony D'Angelo joins us. I just want to restate. Tony D'Angelo joins us every Tuesday. Again, we are lucky to have him here on the radio. He doesn't appear anywhere else, and we thank him for, choosing us to be a part of this. And every week he digs a little bit deeper. I continue. I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's perfectly okay. Then you look at the quality of what's taking place. These COVID tests that they ordered, this is the OnGo Rapid Antigen Test, has a rating of 2.8 out of 5 in Google. It's almost like, let's throw something out there and appease the public. So it's like, you're really concerned about the public health and everything. And these are the same people, excuse my French, that are, making decisions about schools and masks and all this other stuff. And I mean, you're not trustworthy. I can't believe a word you say, but yet you're able to, screw up people's lives and dictate policy. And okay, back to the beginning. The bigger issue is why the massive game on the hide the ball on the earlier purchases. Because this really is troubling to me. So here, I got to build another slime line. On February 1st, Josh Cabal, the chief of staff, leaves the state. Now, this is a guy that ruled everything with an iron fist. Now, February 2nd, we have notification of a grand jury investigation that's been going on since October. Think about this for a second. Violation of the public trust, transparency in government. When Peasers, the Pennsylvania Pension Fund, was under a grand jury investigation, they disclosed it. You're supposed to let people know. Not that you have grand juries are secret, but the fact of the matter is there is something there taking place. These people sat on the ball for 3.5 months. Doing government, everything's great. We got COVID tests, it's whatever. Legislators, God only knows where the heck they are. And then they throw this thing with Diamantis as a bait and switch. He's the guy that's responsible for it all, certainly not Ned. Now, the summons is served right to Gabali's department. And he's gone. There's nobody there to question.
Right.
So what's curious, as I said, we'd get to it. The second order of the tests or put it this way, the order from Rubenstein in 2022 went through the Department of Health. Now, is this because there's something happening with the Department of Corrections and the Department of Administrative Services, and we're now going to keep it clean because there's something happening? And it's that there's just a total media brain deadedness of this. Follow the line, people. This doesn't look odd to you? This doesn't look fishy? I'm beside myself. It's like, what's going on here?
So what happens here? What happens now? What's the next step? What's the governor's next step in your mind?
Well, somebody asked me that. And grand juries, feds in general, I've dealt with feds for 40 years. They move very slowly. People are, if they're looking for the cavalry to come in, you might be waiting. It's the thing of you might see a crack somewhere else. They move very slowly, but they move very deliberately. I get calls every day. Tony, what's happening? Where is this? Like, I wish I knew. Then, of course, now it's COVID-19 for better or for worse. So this can come out. Look at the Durham investigation. These things do take time. So it's hard because we've waited a long time for this because of a failure of the public trust. And I have to keep telling myself, Lee Elci, the only way you get patience is by waiting.
Do you feel like the public, though, is finally beginning to see some of this stuff, or is it still not covered enough by, Connecticut media?
Well, it depends what side of the fence you're on. I'm going to use this bastard, excuse my French, has ruined the state in so many ways, at so many levels. This is just one. Department of Health is another. The schools are another. It's like I don't know how you don't see it, and how you just accept what's there without questioning because it's coming to be obvious. I think it's a matter of time. I think it's accelerating, but I don't know how quickly it comes. It's not coming quickly enough, and I think the fact of the matter is, when the public welfare is at stake and they're just telling tall tales, maybe someday you get hit in the head and you realize, hey, this ain't all it's cracked up to be.
Tony D'Angelo, give everybody your Twitter feed because I really emphasize that you got to follow Tony on Twitter and all these other social media platforms, but he's really number one on Twitter. Where do they go, Tony?
Oh, at Tony D'Angelo 7.
All right. Did we forget anything?
Well, this is really going to be a tougher slog because they are circling the wagons. They're not letting information out, and there is. If you read the Freedom of Information Act, there is an exception to what they call pending litigation. And as these things fall into pending litigation, you might start getting that, we're not going to tell you this because we might need this information to defend ourselves. It's like, and this all comes down to somebody not being able to buy a bottle of milk, waste, fraud, abuse, malfeasance, Lee Elci. That's all I want to say.
Tony, great stuff again. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks, pal.